we've exceeded the maximum number of characters, but I assure you we're still the actual Riot support channel. .com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Runeterrable Radio. I am Blevins. With me, as always, is Saucy. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? Today is gonna be a spicy show like none other. Let me tell you.
I just happened to hit the local recording button like while we were in that tirade, just like, we should probably start the show soon. Yeah. I wasn't sure that I was going to hit it, and there, you can even tell there was like a little buzz, so yeah. I caught myself off guard. Oh, man, yeah.
Perfect. When you catch yourself off guard, that's when you know it's pristine.
When your comedic timing impulses are so acute and keen and keyed in that you even make yourself laugh, you know you've got something going on. But oh boy, Saucy, we're gonna have a spicy one. So for the podcast listeners and the YouTube viewers in the future, hi, I hope it's better than it is now. We're gonna obviously be talking about the new patch, and Saucy and I have been discussing not the patch specifically and the contents of the patch. We've been discussing what people have been talking about with the patch.
Yeah. So it was the first patch for the first like balance change patch for Call of the Mountain.
Yes.
We need to let's just take a breather real quick because now is not the time for comedy, Blevins.
Okay.
We've been joking for a while. It's time to get serious.
Yes.
They're often on this show we make light of things that are very important.
Yes.
We should hold this to the severity that it's at.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Blevins, but I have only played one deck on ladder.
It's been insane.
Have you? Yeah, I've only played literally against one deck. I've played against Scouts. I've played against Ezreal Ramp.
Yeah.
I've played against Thresh Trundle.
Yep.
I've played against MFGP.
Yep.
I've played against TF Ezreal.
Yep.
One deck only. I've played against Taric.
I know.
Fiora. I played against Taric, Lee Sin. I'm sick of the one deck I see: Pirate Burn, Championless, Undying Burn.
Yep.
It's just the only deck I see. I'm sick of it.
The meta is so stale. I've only played against that one deck, the one that you brought up. I've only played against that. I've only played against Lux Ezreal. I've only played against Trundle Thresh combo. I've only played against Noxus P&Z Discard Burn. Mm-hmm. I've only played against Lulu Demacia Emusives. Yep. That's all I've played against. The meta is Saucy. The meta is so stale. We've only played against that one deck.
It's so stale. There's no decks that you can play. I've only played against Nocturne Diana. I've only played against Diana Teemo.
I just can't believe.
I've only played against like Vi Ezreal. The one deck I've played against is so frustrating.
The meta. Okay, new set came out. You'd think that there'd be so many decks that you could play against, right?
Yeah.
It's just one.
There's only one deck.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. I just feel priced into playing that one deck too. Like the meta is so stale and like the cards are so broken, but also they're not powered enough. It's weird because like the cards are both broken and underpowered.
The cards are super overpowered. The power creep is astonishing, but also there isn't a single new card from the set that's playable.
I know. It's so weird.
Can be played,
it's so weird.
If it were to be played, it would break the entire game.
Because Hush and Ezreal and all of the Celestial cards are broken, but also like Call of the Mountain hasn't affected the meta even a little bit.
Yeah, at all. Like it's so crazy how both like there are no champions from the set you can even play, but yet Leona is breaking the game at the same time.
It's so weird.
It's the craziest thing. I've never experienced this in a card game before.
Okay, I'm done. The facade is over. Holy crap, Saucy! People have been wilding on Twitter. lately. I don't know if it's just always been like am I literally like, do I have the spaceman meme where the moon spaceman is pointing a gun at my head and saying always has been, or if I'm just and I'm just noticing it now, but like holy shit, we have just been seeing the worst takes ever on Twitter.
I saw my favorite one so far is someone was complaining about the Yordle Grifter nerf. We'll go into specifics.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the patch actually, but we got to get this off our chest.
But Yordle Grifter got a nerf to just change how the card works.
Yeah.
And this person literally said that this is the exact nerf they were calling for, but they're upset that it took this long to implement. Like, they were mad that they got exactly what they wanted. And I was just like, you're complaining that you got the thing you wanted.
Yeah.
Like, it's going in, you go in for your performance review at work, and they're like, you've been doing so great. You have a $5,000 a month raise. And they're like, I'm so mad that it's taken you this long to give me this extra money.
Right.
It's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm going to put a small pin in it there because, which I will be taking out very shortly, because I've got a lot more to talk about on that whole thing. But I do want to go over quickly. We do have a little bit of housekeeping. We got a brand new patron, Saucy. I know this is a completely random segue, but we do have a new patron. We've got Escher coming in at the $2 level. Thank you, Escher, for your support of the podcast. And if you all want to support the podcast like Escher and many others, go over to patreon.com/Runeterrable Radio. Check out the stuff there. We're about halfway through September, so nearing the end of the month, we'll be putting out our exclusive patron newsletter, actually. So it's going to be, we've got some ideas for it, but and then we've got some people in the community working, and we're going to be putting that out for the patrons. So if you want in on that as well, we've actually got some goodies planned out for different goals and stuff. But you can head over.
Yeah, we've got the goods.
You've got the goods. Head over to patreon.com/Runeterrable Radio for that. And I really appreciate it. Thanks again, Escher, as well as everyone else who has supported us over there. Okay, taking the pin back out. So I was thinking about this. Because when I see this, when I see this type of not even rage, it's just like whining. I just like, my first instinct is like, we have such a great game, just like, why are you complaining about everything? And I go, well, why would you complain about everything when you because like, why not? Because I mean, you see complaining from all games, right? Like, that always happens in every game. But maybe I'm like, is it just because I'm following LOR so closely that I am seeing this? It's like, I don't like, people complain about stuff in Magic, but also like there's a level of like it dies off immediately and we don't see it all the time. And I was thinking about why there would be a difference, and I think I figured it out, or at least a possible reason. So in Magic, we've talked about this before, and it's not like it's a secret. Like, when a card's printed, right? Yep. It's done. There's only really two options. Well, I guess there's three options. There's, if a card's printed and it's broken, there's three options for it. It's either, well, that's just the world you live in now, is one option. The other option is they ban the card. And the third, like, very corner case and rare option is that they errata a card and essentially change it, which they won't do for power level. They really only do that for
if, like, the rules of the game change.
Yeah, if the rules of the game change and it breaks something. So really there's basically only one option to fix a problem, and that's ban the card.
And the last option is they make everyone send back all the copies
Right.
back to James Magic, and he Sharpies out and makes a change on every single card.
Yeah,
just mails them back.
Yep, and mails it back. They white out your card, and yep, absolutely. That's a fourth lesser known and very rarely used option, but still possible. So people complain, and I think we've seen more sort of vocalization and outreach and complaining on the Magic side too in recent years, because they know that they can get something banned or something will get banned if people complain about it and if it's awful, right? But in the past, it's like, well, such and such card is broken. I guess we just you just keep playing it, right? Or you play around it, or you try to beat it. But now we live in a world where because the cards can be changed, and because the devs have been so great about being open and vocal and open to feedback, instead of that being a good thing, I mean, it is a good thing. Instead of the community as a whole taking that as oh, that's awesome, we can get some insights and we can voice it. It's instead oh, I don't like this thing, I'm going to complain at it until it gets nerfed or changed in some way, right? There's not normally there might be let's take Jace the Mind Sculptor, for instance. That card was around for a while and then eventually got banned in Standard. And this was back in a time when they didn't really ban cards in Standard very often. I think before that it was just Skull Clamp, which was a long time before that, many years before it got banned. So it's well, we can complain about how strong this card is, but at the end of the day, we have to play with it. So you play with it, you see the win rates, you figure out ways to beat it, you think of creative ways to change it, and there's this trial period or this experiment period where you're playing it and you see all this. It's oh, well, every single top 8 had max copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor for 4 months. Let's change it, or let's ban it, or whatever. Yeah. And now there's not that phase, right? So there's not that experimentation and that actually playing it. It's just, oh, the eye test says that this is broken, or I played it a statistically insignificant number of times, therefore, and I thought it was broken. Therefore, devs, fix this, please. There's not actually a significant amount of time to play and actually use the stuff and try to experiment. That's just not being done because of the nature of how the dev cycle works. And I'm just pointing it out. I don't really have a solution to it because this is the world we live in now. It just kind of sucks.
It's also, I don't know why, but I think one of the big things is I feel like this game is pretty balanced. There are so many viable decks that you can do well with.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like people want every single deck to be very exactly neutral. A lot of the complaints I get are people man, Saucy, don't you think this card is strong? Not even too strong. Don't you think it's a strong card? I'm yes, it's a strong card, therefore it's seeing play. Think it needs nerfed? No. There should be strong cards.
Right.
There should be good cards in a game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's tough, and we went through the whole exercise at the beginning, exemplifying that the meta is not stale and things aren't broken, and even if you think things are broken, you've played a statistically insignificant number of games. Oh, that reminds me of another thing. I know I'm jumping all over the place.
Yeah, let's jump around.
I see this all the time. If you think that you're playing against the same deck a lot, keep track of your games and post it. Post the games that you've played on ranked, where you can say that you've played against nothing but scouts all night. Because I would venture a guess that it's just confirmation bias. And you're not thinking about all the random games that you played in between those. Yeah, it's the same thing with people who are oh, well, I have an 88% win rate with this deck. It's well, do you actually, or are you estimating? Or Like, did you go up, a certain amount of LP and think, oh, well, it's probably about an 80% win rate or something like that?
Yeah.
Because the last 2 seasons before this one, I haven't been tracking my games this season just because I haven't wanted to. I think I got the exercise of it, I think, was good to go through the first 2 seasons, but I haven't wanted to do it this time. When I went back and looked at every single game I played in the ranked season for the second ranked, I looked back and the meta was way more diverse than the popular opinion, just from what I played against in, Plat and Diamond, obviously. Like, people are like, oh, I play against nothing but Darrowing. Well, actually, it was kind of, like, it was certainly a lot, but it was not 80% of your games by, like, it wasn't even close to that. It was way less than that. But, like, every time you play against, like, oh, my God, I'm playing against another Darrowing. Oh, I play against nothing but this. And then you don't think about it, you don't think about it the next game that you don't play against it. You're not like, oh, well, I'm not playing against Darrowing. It's dead, right? You're only thinking, like, I got 2 Darrowings in a row. That's all I'm playing against. It's like, well.
That's the entire meta.
And then it might only be for one play session, right? Like, did you count your other play? What it boils down to is, like, if you are making these claims, like, back it up with at least a little bit of something. Now, I don't even, like, even my, like, I played like 300 something games in the climb to Masters, from Plat to Masters, which I know is a lot. I'm bad. Like, that is still a statistically insignificant number of games played on one server at roughly the same times. So, like, when you're saying the meta is this, you just don't know. You literally don't know. Like, and maybe I just need to get over the fact that, like, people are going to speak in hyperbole and sensationalize things anyway. But, like, I don't know what it was, Saucy. I would just have been. It's been frustrating this week.
Yeah, there's been some of the worst takes I've ever seen. And I laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's hilarious. But even down to, War Chefs is a card. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about it. It is a 2-mana Demacia card. It got a power reduction from 2 to 1. And there was a group of people saying, now Scouts as an entire archetype is completely unplayable.
Yeah.
And I was like, so the entire archetype is dead because of a 1 power decrease on 1 card?
Yeah. After having not played it at all. After having not played
Deck's
it.
Dead.
Yeah. Deck's dead.
Completely dead. Unplayable.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like,
it's funny.
It's, yeah. I just don't know what to. I just don't know what to do about it. Maybe I just need to get over it, but
yeah, it's not gonna happen. Instead of getting over it, I say we just shit on people. Every time this happens, it's more fun.
Yeah, it definitely is fun. But yeah, so give it. You know what? Send us your hot takes on the patch. What do you think? What do you think is the result of this patch? Let's hear it. Tweet at us at Runeterrable on Twitter. And go to discord.me/Runeterrable Radio as well. Send them there. We want to hear your hot takes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I want to say, I think this is related to the patch notes. I think one of the coolest things that they started doing is this, like, preview of things to come for the next patch. I think this is, like, the most interesting thing. So at the start of this is patch 1.10.
Yes.
They said, here's a preview of things that are going to be coming in 1.11.
Yes.
I think that is really cool. Like, I'm not used to that from other games where everything's super secretive. Here they're just like, hey, here's some stuff that isn't implemented here, but it's stuff we're working on for the next one.
Yep.
Which also angered people because they're like, why didn't you just do it for this patch?
Yeah, and I won't. I think the steam has been let out now, so I'm finally calmed. I've finally calmed down a little bit.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of me too. I kind of think that, like, my take is, if I were if I were a dev, I would just not want to tell people stuff anymore. Like this exact reaction is why devs traditionally don't tell people stuff. So like, or like give out like any hints. It's like, nope, you get nothing until it's out and then you can react to it. So like, if you're gonna shit on everything, like don't be upset when the things you get back are covered in shit, right? Like, you know, or that you stop getting things beforehand. So that's all I have to say. And like, I don't want it to be like, oh, well, you know, everything that Riot does is perfect and you shouldn't give feedback. I just think that like, just think about it a little bit more and support things with data rather than just like jabbering on. So
yeah,
that's what I got. So, okay, let's actually take a look at the patch notes and we'll just kind of talk about our hot takes because you know what? We've got some shitty takes too. And by shitty, I mean the best takes, obviously.
Correct.
Okay, so we start with the little intro thing that you were talking about. And here's a couple of things that we are going to expect in patch 1.11. Adjustments to the difficulty of Aurelion Soul's level up requirement. Okay, interesting. Adding escalation to Hush's repeatable cost. So like the first one cost 3, then 4, then 5, etc. Grandfather Rummel giving more hugs. Ooh,
Who doesn't like more hugs?
Give me Grandfather Rummel buffs for sure. I mean, that's me in 60 years. I'm all for the Grandfather Rummel hugs.
I love that card.
I also love Grandfather Rummel. Great card. So, yeah. Cool. I don't have anything inherently against that, I don't think. No. I mean, the Grandfather Rummel thing, I like that. Again, like a card like Grandfather Rummel, if it were a Magic card, I'd be like, okay, that's like a limited only card, right? And they're like, oh well, let's see if we can get it into constructed. Okay, great, let's see it.
Yeah, let's see. Let's try and make it happen.
Hush is a card that like Hush is one that I think every single person that is anti-Hush is looking at it in a vacuum, which is fine, and like like talking about a card theoretically is fine, but in practice it just doesn't play out like that. You're like, oh well, Hush exists, therefore deck is invalid, which I kind of thought for like the J Medarda like combo deck that I've been playing, and that I know you played. And Lobster played a bit, like the one that's like the stupid assembly bot, right? That Capata ended up Capata originally made. It's like, oh well, Hush exists, therefore this deck is terrible. It's like, well, you can actually beat Hush sometimes, and also sometimes they don't draw Hush, and also not every deck is playing Targon. So like, in the instance where you are forced to go all in on a unit with buffs and they're playing Targon and they have Hush, okay, yeah, you lose that game. But also, someone needs to lose every game, right?
What?
Yeah.
No, someone needs to lose every game as long as it's not me.
Right. Just remember, every single game is a 50-50. You either win or you lose. There's no way around it. So I think, you know, maybe Hush is, you know, the cost or whatever. The escalating cost seems like an interesting, sort of catch-all around it. I mean, I think the most common Hush is 2 of them, right? So now it's basically just going from 6 mana to 7, which I don't think that's a huge change. It's probably fine. And then if you want to get fancy, then it's goes from 7 to what would it be, 12, right?
Yeah.
So you can't cast 4 Hushes anymore. You can only cast 3, which probably isn't going to change all that many outcomes of anything. But does make it harder.
It feels like it's one of those appeasement nerfs. Like it's not even, we don't even know what the nerf is, right? Like we're just speculating
based on that. That's what would make sense.
It feels like it's an appeasement nerf because people like to complain about the card, and I personally have no issues with it. But I mean, it's just like saying X card is bad because removal in the game can kill it. It's like,
Guys to Doomblade.
Well, Yeah.
Remember that?
Like
Baneslayer
yeah,
Angel?
exactly. Yep. Just it's the same thing. Like, oh, can't play Harrowing anymore because Passage Unearned was made. Like, all right.
Yep. It's like, well, this unit's really good, but did you know that vengeance kills it? Therefore terrible. So yeah, I think and then there's the whole thing with people. I think it was Grappler, but I'm basing this off of Reddit information. So if I'm wrong, blame Reddit, not me. Grappler and Swim were telling people to like purposely build these Cloud Drinker Hush decks that literally do nothing. They just stall. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah,
it's like the Infinite Puff Caps deck, except it never wins.
But it doesn't have a win con, yeah.
Right.
Just to try and get Hush to get nerfed.
Yeah. It's like, well, you're kind of I don't know.
A dick.
Yeah, you have to think of it that way, right? Like there's no I'm trying to think like okay, well, this is kind of the game's fault, but I don't know.
You don't have to, like, there's no reason for it. Why? Like,
right.
Just because you can specifically make a deck with no win con that just does nothing doesn't mean you should.
Right. You're like it's the same. It's the same thing. You know what I kind of see it as? It's almost like hackers in other games, right? Like you could make a weird corner case argument that like, oh, well, it's the game's fault for not having the security to prevent me from using this hack to ruin other people's experiences. But at the end of the day, you're doing that and you are making it like unpleasant to play the game, and that's pretty fucked up. So yeah, no, I'm all in on the like that's a shitty thing to do. And it's just a weird thing to do. So I say don't do that. Don't stall out the game like that. It's weird. I won't go into any more than that, but it's just a weird thing to do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of unplayable,
yes.
Ezreal suddenly completely unplayable.
Yep.
He got a nerf. Instead of needing to target 8 things, needs to target 10. No longer playable.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely worse. There's no question about that. I think that the people who didn't think Ezreal was a problem are going to continue to think that, and the people who thought Ezreal was a problem inherently are probably not going to be pleased, though I don't know if you can please those people at all. I have liked Ezreal as a card from the very beginning. I think it's awesome. I like combo decks in general, and Ezreal kind of feels like a nice hedge between an actual infinite combo and like just a control card, right? He still fills the role as a control finisher. You need to now do 25% more work, right? That would be 10 is 25% more than 8.
I don't know how math works.
I'm pretty sure that's how math works. I don't know. Or like 8 is 20% less, but it does depends on how you look at it. But you need to get 25% more targets now. And like it's definitely a nerf. And like honestly, there hasn't been a ton of Ezreal, at least at like a high competitive level lately. Now, again, the meta has not had a chance to breathe, right? It hasn't had the chance to breathe yet, so like Karma Ezreal kind of always comes back, right? Like but people haven't really been playing it. There was some Ezreal Targon, Ezreal Twisted Fate, like all those decks. I saw some Ezreal Draven as well, like old school style. But people want to play the new cards, so there hasn't really been a lot of testing with it. I think that we'll eventually see an Ezreal deck still be tier 1. But like it's worse now. It's harder to do. You got to put a little bit more work into it.
Yep.
So
Ezreal got a change, and then the one this is something I've been very, very excited for a while now. So Lee Sin got a little bit of a rework. He was my second least favorite champion in the entire game.
Okay.
For a lot of reasons, but he got a pretty big reworking.
Mm-hmm.
He now costs 4 mana instead of 6. He has 4 health instead of 6 at level 1.
Yep.
And they changed his garbage tier champion spell from Dragon Rage to Sonic Wave.
Yep. They also added an additional spell cast that you need to level him up.
Yep. Instead of 7, it's 8. Because now you can play him before turn 78.
Yep. So what you're saying, Saucy, is that since he has 2 less health, he's strictly worse, right?
Yeah. It was legitimately, I was telling Blevins this, someone was raging on YouTube, just raging about the Lee Sin nerf. And I was like, how did he get nerfed? They're like, well, he had 6 health and now he's got 4. I'm like, yeah, but he also has 6 mana and now he's at 4 mana. Like, well, but his health is important. I'm like, he gets barrier. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
he still does the dumb Dragon's Rage thing when he kicks at level 2.
Right.
Like, they didn't change that. He still does the same thing for the combo decks that want to play him.
Mm-hmm.
You can just play him as more than just the last turn of the game card now.
Right. This is, to me, this is a huge buff. I mean, lowering 2 costs to him? Are you kidding me? Think of it this way. If you had a Lee Sin in hand and you could just say, "Oh, I'm gonna get 2 free mana and do 2 damage to him when he comes into play," you would do that every single fucking time. Are you kidding me? Like, it's not close. He's way better, and like the Dragon Rage spell was all right, but how often were you casting that? Like, how often were you looking to cast it is a more apt question, because like sometimes you would just cast it because you had it, but like now his spell is actually great.
Now he's got a spell that people actually play in the decks that play the card.
Right.
Which makes sense.
I mean, this is a huge buff. I mean, we saw Nola Gold made the Kickaxe deck a long time ago. Now that seems way more viable. It still does the same thing, like you said. It's still like you're still getting the Dragon Rage spell out of him when he's leveled up, right? So he basically just got like a little bit less stats and 2 cost taken away from him, and he's slightly harder to level up. So I mean, huge buff. I'm imagining we're going to be seeing a lot of Lee Sin at least experimented with, and then if he finds a home or not is another question. But I mean, seems really, really good now, at least comparatively.
The only Lee Sin deck that I even remotely liked was the Lee Sin Fizz deck that we made.
Yeah.
And like, because they have similar level ups, but now you can actually play this before turn 3014.
Right.
And he can do things. It's sweet.
One thing I think that we've seen from like how champions end up playing out is a very similar sort of playability metric that we see in Magic the Gathering for higher cost spells. It's like the first question is, does it impact the board when you play it? Yeah. And I mean, it technically has haste if you're talking in Magic the Gathering terms, but everything does, right? So you're playing a 6 mana, what was a 6 mana 3/6. And if you are tapping out to do that, or spending all of your mana to do that, like that is not a card that you want to play, right? Even if you get the leveled up version, it's a 4/7 for 6 mana. Like you don't want to play that card, right? Like now at least a 4 mana 3/4 is not great, but like when he you actually might have some mana to cast spells, right?
If you play him on the same turn, you have 2 extra mana.
Right. So, I mean, overall, I think you'd have to be crazy to think that this is a nerf. This is a huge, huge buff. And if you want to get technical about it, you can call it a burf, because technically he did get worse in some capacities, but like the payoff is huge. Like net, huge buff. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely looking forward to that. Okay, let's move on to followers and spells. The first one, War Chefs, losing a power, going from a 2/3 down to a 1/3. Saucy, what do you think about this change?
I like the change, not just even specifically on the card itself, but they talk about how like the 2-drop spot in Demacia is so highly contested, especially in any of the support decks that are wanting the support stuff, like the Lulu decks.
Yeah.
Like turn 2 is actually super contested in any of those. So now they're just like, hey, we want this ability because you're playing him for his ability, right? To support something +1/+1. You're not necessarily playing him for his body. So now you have to actually think about deck building, and anything that makes you think about deck building decisions, I'm all for.
Yeah, I think that this like War Chefs just is so was just so like auto include, right? 2 mana 2/3 passes the vanilla test. His support ability, it's successes speak for themselves at this point. Like it was, are you running a Demacia deck? Yes. Is it unit based at all? Yes. Okay, you're running War Chefs, right? I think I haven't seen all the lists, but like the mono elites deck, like maybe didn't run this, but like everything else that even cared at all about combat in Demacia was running War Chefs. And yeah, like you said, I mean, 2 mana 1/3, like that kind of doesn't pass the vanilla test. Like you don't actually want to play that card. So now like you got to think, is the support ability actually worth it?
Like relevant.
Is it relevant
to your game plan?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe. It's going to be, there's going to be that initial state of shock where people are like, oh, this is just so much worse than, people are going to be looking at comparing this to the old War Chefs rather than is it good right now, which always happens with nerfs and buffs, right? It's like, oh, well, this is way worse than the old War Chefs, therefore it's unplayable. It's like, well, there's some room between what old War Chefs was and unplayable, and this is probably somewhere in between that, but maybe not. I mean, maybe this is unplayable now. I don't know. And the patch has been live for an hour, so I haven't had time to test it. So
yeah, exactly.
I've been playing the Lulu Emusives deck, and I think that this still probably fits in there, but it's almost a relief to be able to cut a 2-drop down and like actually think about potentially playing something else. Like it's definitely almost a relief for that. So
yep.
Okay.
So then next we have a change to a card that's been changed a few times.
Yep.
Flash of Brilliance. They even riff on it, and like this, it says, "What would patch notes be without a change to Flash of Brilliance?"
Yep.
So it is back to 3 mana. It still has the same effect, so it still does a 6+ spell, but now it's 3 mana again. So you can effectively cast this for quote unquote, using air quotes right now, free. So yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I think I had never seen, once I made it 4 mana, I don't think I saw any more Flash of Brilliance.
Very rare that we saw it played. I mean, this makes sense, right? The Heimerdinger Flash of Brilliance, that was broken because it gave you an elusive. Now it doesn't. It just gives you, what is it? Not Overwhelm. Fearsome? Or no, it does give you Overwhelm. I don't remember which one it is. I haven't played Heimerdinger in so long, I don't remember which one the 3 is anymore. But it's not elusive, therefore it's whatever. Like who it's not the best one, therefore I don't care what one it is, right? So
exactly.
It's not broken, it's probably still good, and this is another card that triggers what is it? Recombobulator? What's it called? This the spell, P&Z spell, the new one.
The Tri-Beam?
Improbulator?
Improbulator.
Tri-Beam Improbulator. That sounds made up, but is probably correct. Yeah, I mean, there's it didn't need to be 4 mana anymore, so they brought it back to 3. I like it. I think this is, like, puts it back to possibly playable. Lux P&Z. It's now, the flavor of the week is Lux Targon, but Lux P&Z is probably still just as good as it was, and now this is, makes it a little bit better.
Man,
okay.
Lux is interesting, right? Like,
yeah,
she just like comes and goes. You'll see her like all over the place, and then literally nowhere, and then all over the place again. Lux is such an interesting card.
Well, Lux is one that is kind of we've seen, at least in tournament play and by proxy the ladder as well. She's really been a like board centric killer, right? Like when Bannerman decks have been like the flavor and all the rage, Lux comes in and is like, yeah, I can play a lot of your stuff. I get Radiant Guardian, and I get to play big spells, block your board, and just shoot your stuff down with lasers, right? But also, Lux is not great against the sort of late game control decks. So it's really like the definition of like mid-range dot deck, right? Like it is that, and like it kind of has some control elements, but it's never like the end all be all like late game control deck. So it's always an interesting spot in the meta. So I mean,
speaking of interesting spot in the meta,
yeah,
players, let's talk about the most powerful card in the game, Overgrown Snapvine.
Yeah, it
went from 4 to 5 power.
Yep. That's I mean, that's a 25% increase in power, therefore broken. I mean, Saucy, I'm going to defer to you on the Overgrown Snapvine.
I hate Overgrown Snapvine.
Really?
Not because, I hate the card because I don't think it's fun to play. Not because it's strong or oppressive or bothered. Like, I don't mind playing against it because you're never going to lose to it.
Right.
The decks that play it are just dog shit. And there's people that are obsessed with this card. And I don't know why. This is another one in YouTube comments. Be like, oh my God, I'm going to make you play this Overgrown Snapvine deck.
Yeah.
I don't get why people think it's fun. It's stupid. But its art is good. So it
does have really good art. And it also has the funny little like I guess it's kind of like an Easter egg where like if you right click the card and hover it, like it will show like 38 Snapvines behind it. Like it's a card that's created by it. Like I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they made an epic card that costs 7 mana slightly better. Thumbs up. I don't think that this isn't going to make strides in the, I mean, all of the problems with the card are still there. It's just slightly stronger now. So, thumbs up, I guess.
So whatever, let's ignore this one. But this is actually an important one.
Yes.
Crackshot Corsair. So this card, it's actually always been a card that I've loved. Before it was a 1 mana 1/1. It got a health increase from 1 to 2. So now it actually has stats and doesn't die to like a
everything
breeze in the wind.
Yeah.
I thought Crackshot Corsair was sick, but like most decks just didn't want to play it because it couldn't stick around, right? Now it can actually contest against other 1-drops. You can attack with it when you play it. It doesn't die to Omen Hawk.
Yeah, it was like 1 mana 1/1 is really, really tough. It needs to be really strong for it to be good, right? Or it needs to be something that you don't care if it dies, right? Like it needs to already get it needs to either already get its effect like Omen Hawk, or it needs to have a last breath ability, like all of the Shadow Isles ones, right? Crackshot Corsair would come down. It like you said, very rarely ever attacked, and would just eat every single Make It Rain and Vile Feast in the world, right? Now it's like, well, it can at least eat a Make It Rain, and they're gonna have to commit more than just a Vile Feast, right? This is big, right? 1 to 2 is a big jump, in the same that like 3 to 4 is a really, really big jump as well. Or I'm sorry, 4 to 5, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 even. They're all really big jumps in terms of health. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, we could start seeing. I've tried to play this card in like some aggressive decks, and it like is always been close. It's just never quite been there, and this might be the little bump to push it over.
And you can now play it with the newly buffed Jagged Taskmaster.
This one's big.
This is big. It is very big. So this is going from 3 mana to 2 mana.
Yep.
And then they reduced its stats from 4 to 3 power and 3 to 2 health to compensate.
Yeah.
But this is perfect. Like, I always said this should be a 2-drop because you always want to curve 1-drop and to be able to plunder and then play this on 2.
Yep.
And now you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, this was a card that saw no play. No competitive play whatsoever, I don't think. I mean, I'm not considering Von Yip decks to have ever been competitive. Maybe they are now.
Nope.
But like it's pretty simple actually. It went from failing the vanilla test to passing it. 3 mana 4/3,
Yep.
not really what you want to play. 2 mana 3/2, absolutely. Ship me that all day. It's as simple as that. And to add on to it, yes, like you said, Saucy, it now curves out better. You're going 1 drop into this. 1 drop on your opponent's turn, open attack, play this. Great. You're in business now, and like it's not a like grant 1-cost allies everywhere +1/+0. That's not anything to sneeze at, right? Like,
no, it's strong.
Whenever you get this in, if you get this in Expedition and you have enough 1-drops to make it like worth it, like it always felt like a strong ability. It's just like you never really wanted to play this in your deck because a 3 mana 4/3 was just always too clunky to really want to play, right?
And like all the decks you're playing it in, you're like turn 3 is difficult to fit that card in.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times you'd rather play something like Misfortune or whatever. And now you're just like, do I really have to play this crappy Taskmaster?
Mm-hmm.
And like you can't play it before you attack to get the damage in. You have to play it after you attack usually.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's a little, it's tough.
Yeah. Yep. This is, I think, arguably, I mean, Lee Sin is going to be huge. But I think besides Lee Sin, this will probably, Cygnus too, maybe, will increase its, will have its percentage of playability like spiked the most. I think Lee Sin and this will be the 2 biggest ones. Another big change that we talked about earlier, Yordle Grifter now, instead of always getting the warning shot when you play it, it's now just tagged onto the allegiance win, essentially. So if you're playing a heavy Bilgewater deck, not really going to change Yordle Grifter at all. If you're playing sort of the greedier deck that has fewer Bilgewater cards, Twisted Fate Swain, Yordle Grifter is all of a sudden not an auto include. Yeah. Because the warning shot was always like, in a lot of cases, was the better option than the nab.
Well, most of the times that you were playing this card, it was because it was a body that gave you a warning shot. Like, because you're playing Riptide Rex. Like,
yes.
Let's be honest. It's because you're playing Riptide Rex. But yeah, now you have to actually, like I said earlier, anything that requires deck building thoughts, I'm all for.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can't just jam this in every single deck that plays Bilgewater because you're like, oh wait, if it doesn't hit Allegiance, it's just a 4 mana 3/3, which is not what you want to be playing.
Yeah. It doesn't pass the vanilla test. It feels like it jumped down a little bit in terms of the Allegiance specifically tier list. So, I mean, I think it's a good change. I do like the mix of we're buffing cards in a region to make them more playable, but also nerfing some of the like auto includes. Because like you look at Yordle Grifter, you look at War Chefs, it's like, yes, those are cards in that region, but they're like they almost felt like neutral cards for the region because it's like they just go in every deck of that region, right? Like War Chefs, yes, it technically goes in the support theme, but it was just good enough to play in everything. Like you didn't even care about support at all. It was just like you just played it because it was good. Same with Yordle Grifter. Like you didn't really care if you missed the Allegiance or not. And like I think that's got to be a pretty, at least for how they've positioned Allegiance so far, you've got to put the risk in there, right? It's like if you miss the Allegiance, you feel pretty bad. All of them, for the most part, feel like that. I mean, there's some that like the Mist Caller. It's like, well, you still got a 4/3 body, but like you're way worse.
Then also getting a 5/2.
Right. Then also getting like you're way worse, but like in that deck, it's like, yeah, I just want power. And more power is better, but this amount of power is fine. 4 mana 3/3 in the decks that Yordle Grifter is likely to be in is like, it's pretty bad. So yeah, I really like this change. Just seems good. I mean, I wish I'm upset because they didn't do it earlier, Saucy. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted, but the fact that they did it this late, they just weren't fast enough.
They weren't fast enough. Oh, you
so
been
good.
here.
I know you got to be here for the pre-show. Twitch.tv/theblevins on Wednesdays. Time TBD. Usually we wing that, but make sure you're joining the Discord. Discord.me/Runeterrable Radio to find out when we're going live. And follow us on Twitter @Runeterrable. Okay, last card that we got changed here is Get Up. Come on, get down with the Cygnus, the Moonstalker. He's getting a +1/+1 buff, going from a 4/2 up to a 5/3. I was a little surprised by this card because I was low-key saucy. I was kind of playing this card already.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I'm like, sweet. Now he's just actually really good. Like this is just a straight up buff. And like they said specifically, they wanted this to be a powerful finisher for Nightfall decks, and there it is. It do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know me. I've been a degenerate elusive player from the beginning, right? Like I love elusives. I even, there was a meme in my local Magic community that whenever you played a draft deck that was just blue-white flyers, that was blue-white Blevins. It was just like as aggressive as possible, just play every flyer. Yeah, that's elusives, right? I've really liked Cygnus in the Nightfall variants, and I've been playing around with different elusive builds. I think it's actually an aggressive elusive like Ionia Targon deck. I think that we're in a pretty good position for that to be good. It's just whether or not do you go all in like hyper aggro, like with no champs in that, or do you go, more of a Lulu sort of, maybe Lulu, Zed, sort of mid-rangey route. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that Cygnus makes the deck. I mean, it's like it does potentially more damage than like Hatchling if you're building your deck like that, right? Like if you're playing all elusives, like you don't really need Cygnus, right? Because you want some number of non-elusives to give elusive to with him, but 5 power elusive for 6, you're not getting a better rate than that right now. So
especially that grants elusive for the turn. So
technically it only gives elusive, it doesn't grant.
It doesn't grant, it gives.
But yeah, really cool. Overall, I think I'm giving a thumbs up to all of these changes just in general. Some I like more than others, but I think just in general, a really good balance patch. I like it. Let us know what you guys think. Let's hear your hot takes. Tweet them at us at Runeterrable or go to the Discord, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. Let us know. Okay, Saucy, before we go, there's a couple other things that were added to this patch. The first was multi-shard friend challenge, so now you can play your friends in EU and anywhere, right? That's awesome.
It's like, so I was gonna say all the card changes are cool, but this is the one big change from this patch that means the most to me. Being able to cross shard challenge is like the biggest thing, because it always feels so bad when like someone comes by and they want to challenge you on stream and they're like, oh shit, I'm in EU and we can't fight for whatever reason. So now I can beat all of you up and let you all know that your Von Yip Snapvine decks are actually shit. So yeah, it's really sweet. I like this a lot.
Yeah, really good. Just obviously great. It's good for tournaments as well. Now you can just say, hey, anyone can join. You don't have to have an account. You don't have to create an account. And I did make an EU account, knowing that this was going to happen, but I did it mostly because I wanted to have a free-to-play account and just see how that grind went, but I didn't really play it on it that much. But yeah, this is great. I really like this, and now you don't have to, build up another collection to be able to play in other events. So really
it's very awesome.
The other thing that happened here is the new standard gauntlet update. It's now multi-deck pick and ban. So you put 3 decks, you load up 3 decks into the gauntlet, and when you play against someone, you're still playing a best of 1. But before the match, you are actually picking a deck of your opponent's to ban out, and your opponent is picking one of yours to ban, and then you pick from the 2 remaining. And play it out. And there's a couple of deck building restrictions. No champion duplicates before decks. And you have to have different region combos for each deck, and you can only have a maximum of 1 championless deck. So basically, I mean, those speak for themselves, right? You can have 3 Demacia decks, but you can only have 1 Demacia Targon. You can only have 1 Demacia Shadow Isles, etc. But really,
this is exciting. I mean, they've talked about it before that they were wanting to use, labs and gauntlets as a way to test new things out for potential game modes to come. Tournament mode, wink, 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 wink.
Right.
So hopefully they're testing out some technologies for that.
Yep. That, I'm glad you bring that up. That is actually the most exciting part to me about this. The specific format itself, I'm less concerned about, because like I think this is like a pretty complex format, right? Like, I mean, you can read it and figure it out. It's not like you need to be a genius to figure it out, but like, you look at it for a second, it's like, okay, no champion duplicates. Okay, that makes sense. Different region combos. It's like, wait, so I can use Demacia 3 times, but I can't. Okay, I get it. And then maximum 1 champion this deck. This is like just I see this more as like, okay, we're adding as many knobs on this machine as possible, so we can see how many we can actually change, right? I don't see it as like a lot of people were looking at this and be like, oh, well, this is the tournament format, right? This is Riot's official. They stamped it with their seal of approval. This is the tournament format. And all I'm going to say is that from my experiences, and if you know me and what I've been doing in the LOR tournament scene, take that for what it's worth and take it with a grain of salt. But what I will say is that I don't see this as Riot declaring that this is the tournament format. That's all I'll say on it. I'm not, I don't have any advanced info on that or anything right now. So, but all I'll say is I don't see it as that. And I don't think that this is a declaration of what the tournament format it should be or is going to be. We don't know that. So, but this being put into the game is huge. I'm so glad that it happened, and it's. I mean, this is pretty early, man. I mean, we still don't have spectator mode for TFT. And this isn't spectator mode either, right? But this is a big system thing that is being added into the game, and I mean, kudos to the team for putting it in this early. I'm really happy about it.
Yep. And then the biggest change of this entire patch. I know I've said this a couple times, but
but it's been true every time.
Change. This is the true one. The Empyrean and Dragonling now correctly have the dragon type.
Ooh. Wait. Oh, really?
Yep.
Wait, what's that one? Empyrean? What's that one?
Empyrean. It's the
the Empyrean, the Ionia. It's a dragon. Oh,
it's
sick.
a dragon now, and so is Dragonling, created by Eye of the Dragon.
Wait, so that's actually kind of sick. So you can now get an Empyrean off of Involnius Rex or whatever his name, Involnius Vox. I don't know the name of the card.
Envolnog is
something Vox. But can you get a Dragonling? Wait, can you get a Dragonling off of it?
Maybe.
Oh, if you can, I would assume that you can get Empyrean. That makes sense. But if you can get a Dragonling,
because Dragonling is specifically created by Eye of the Dragon.
I would think so too.
Card.
I would also think that, but
that's it. I'm raging. I'm so mad. Reddit.
Oh, why couldn't they have just spelled it out entirely? No, I mean that's awesome. Actual other thing that is in here is there's a new lab as well. Saucy, welcome to the jungle. Did you get a chance to play this at all?
Ever constructed lab? No, I've been stuck. Doing the work thing.
Yeah, technically we were both working at some point during this show, but I mean, absolutely not. We would never do that. I played one game of this and it was pretty cool. The board is different, which is awesome. There's at least a handful of other art assets, which were really cool. They have like the jungle creep. They have a Baron like statue on the board. Looks really cool. And then like the game itself was fine. I just did the quick play, like had them give me a deck. Because I'm not I personally don't like building the decks for these types of things. I didn't like doing it in Hearthstone either. I always hated when it was like build a deck to do this expedition or this tavern brawl that you're going to play one time just for your pack. I hated doing that, but I really like that it is an option for people that like to do it. And I also like that they gave me a quick play option so that I don't have to do it. It's actually the best of both worlds. So, the game itself was kind of cool. It was a nice little wrinkle into the regular game. There's a jungle creep, essentially, that is a 1/4 can't attack, can't block, vulnerable that has last breath, give your opponent a card, essentially. And the cards are either give all of your units in hand and in deck +1/+1, grant him that. One is gain a mana crystal and draw a card, and the other is create a raptor, which I don't actually know what that is, and gain 2 life or something like that. It's basically simulating being in the jungle of League of Legends, and you kill a creep in the jungle and you get a reward. Really cool, like relatively elegant and simple way to simulate something that's in the game of League of Legends. And I mean, again, I don't see it as like, oh, well, this is this specific thing is like the end all be all. It's like, this is a little bit of like, could possibly be like PvE type content, even though this is PvP, but like could be leading towards PvE type
stuff.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's I like that they're testing stuff. I played it and I wasn't thinking anything of it when going into it, but after I played it, I'm like, ooh, I'm actually getting really excited about this type of stuff. Really cool that they're seeing this. Because, I mean, think about Hearthstone. For how long was Hearthstone out and it was just like literally nothing new was added or tried? And granted, this was like 6 or however many years ago when it wasn't necessarily like, nothing was proven out. And I'm not trying to take away from Hearthstone, but like I wasn't expecting to see this level of stuff from the labs yet. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Yep. And this is stamp of approval from Riot. Confirmed this is the end all be all tournament mode.
Yeah.
This new lab.
Yes, it is. It is. You build 3 jungle labs. You ban one. Yep. You ban one jungle creep, and the other 2 spawn. You heard it here first, folks.
That's how
confirmed.
That's the tournament mode.
Yep, I lied. I do have advanced information, and that's what it is. It is jungle labs tournament mode, guaranteed.
That's the new
Rip.
tournament mode.
Rip everything. But on a serious note, that is the patch. I mean, there is the expedition stuff that we don't ever go over on the stream, but if you want to look at it, check the patch notes in the description. Saucy, anything else that you wanted to touch on before we get going here?
Nope.
Okay. There you have it. I don't think I have anything else either, but I just didn't want to end if we had anything else. But that is going to be it. Saucy, that's the patch 1.10. Saucy, where can people find you on the internet when you're not here and not on the Discord?
You can find me on the internet. I'm just at my website, saucymailman.com. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all those places. Saucy Mailman is my name.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at @the_Blevins. You can find my Twitch. I think, I haven't been streaming a lot, and you know what? I feel bad. Maybe I'll stream. I'm going to try. So I'm not going to make any promises for this week or next week because I'll have an announcement, a personal announcement that I'll be making probably next week. Well, it'll definitely be making it next week. I don't know if I'm going to make it on the show, but I'll be making an announcement next week. So might not be streaming, but I want to stream more. Flindo, you guilted me, buddy. I want to stream more for y'all. And you can find my stream, twitch.tv/theblevins. It's also where we stream the podcast on Wednesdays. Again, time TBD. We fly by the seat of our pants in that. But you will know on Discord, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. Make sure you are there. It's the best place to be. I mean, seriously, again, we say this every week, but I absolutely and genuinely mean it. It is an awesome community that you guys have created. There's so much activity going on, whether it's deck discussion, card discussion, food pictures, finding people to play games with, test decks, talk about decks. It's truly been amazing seeing what you guys have done with it. And I absolutely mean what all of you have done with it. And so discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. Do yourself a favor. If you're listening to this, on the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, go to the Discord and join it. You're not going to regret it. And then, all the other places, anywhere that you can find podcasts, we're Runeterrable Radio, Runeterrable.com, DeckPics.Live, all that stuff. Okay, enough about that. That's going to be it for this episode. Let us know what you thought about the patch in the Discord, Twitter, etc., etc. But for Saucy, I'm the Blevins, and we'll be here next week to talk about some more Legends of Runeterra.
Wom, 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 wom.